Okay, you ready for this one? We are diving deep into Fritz Lang's M.
Oh, now that's a film that gets under your skin.
It's been haunting viewers since 1931, and for good reason. Don't worry, we came prepared. We've got reviews, analyses, even some of Lang's own thoughts to unpack.
It's fascinating how a film made almost a century ago can still feel so relevant today.
Right. It's not just about being the first serial killer film, though, right? There's something about M that stays with you.
Absolutely. It's the way Lang uses this horrific crime, a child murder, to hold up a mirror to society. He's asking these really uncomfortable questions about justice, morality, good and evil. It makes you think.
And he doesn't ease you in. He drops you right into 1930s Berlin. You can practically feel the fear oozing from the screen.
Even that opening shot, that bird's eye view of the children playing, it's unsettling.
Oh, totally. Like we're looking down on them, almost like...
Voyeurs. Yeah, it's like Lang is making us complicit in what's about to happen.
It's a chilling thought. And we're barely 5 minutes into the film. But it's not just about the crime itself. Lang gets really interesting in how he contrasts the police investigation with the criminal underworld.
That's one of the most brilliant aspects of the film. Both sides are desperate to catch the killer, but their motivations are completely different.
So we've got the cops and the criminals both racing to catch this guy. But for totally different reasons. What's Lang trying to say there?
Well, remember, Lang was living in Germany during the Weimar Republic.
A time of immense social and political turmoil, right? People were desperate for someone to take control.
Exactly. When a child murderer throws the city into chaos, everyone wants order restored, even if they are the ones who usually benefit from the chaos.
So the criminals, the ones who live outside the law, suddenly want to impose it.
Think about it. The police are cracking down, disrupting their business. Lang himself said he wanted to show the impact of Beckert's crimes on the criminal ecosystem. They had to do something.
Wow, so you've got these hardened criminals acting like concerned citizens because a child killer is messing with their bottom line.
That's the point, isn't it? It makes you question who the good guys really are and what motivates them.
And then you have Peter Lorre as Hans Beckert, the killer himself.
Lorre's performance is incredible. He doesn't play Beckert like a one-dimensional monster.
There's something almost pitiful about him at times.
Lang talked about it as this internal struggle. Like Beckert desperately wants to be free from this darkness that drives him.
You're right. There are times when I almost feel sorry for the guy, even though he's,
A child murderer.
Yeah. It's disturbing. Am I alone here? Is Lang trying to make us sympathize with a killer?
I think he wants us to understand that evil is rarely black and white. Look at that scene in the kangaroo court. He's surrounded by criminals pleading for his life.
Intense scene.
He delivers this monologue about the torment he endures. This isn't asking for forgiveness, not really, but it is questioning their right to judge him when they, too, break the law.
He's a victim of his impulses, and they choose to be criminals. Hard to argue with that logic, even though he's a killer.
And that's Lang's genius. He doesn't make it easy on us. He forces us to confront that gray area.
It's like we're looking into this abyss of human nature, right? But even with all that unsettling stuff we just talked about, the way Lang creates this atmosphere of dread is masterful.
It's the sound, or maybe I should say his use of sound. This was his first sound film, and he really pushed the boundaries.
Yeah, you can tell he's not just using it for dialogue.
Right. It's like another character.
That whistle, though. Every time Beckert whistles that tune, it gives me chills.
It's actually in the Hall of the Mountain King.
No way. From that...
Peer Gynt by Edvard Grieg.
Right, of course. I knew that. But seriously, what made Lang choose a piece of classical music for that?
Well, it's a leitmotif every time you hear it.
You think of Beckert.
Exactly. It's a warning, even before you see him.
Like a sonic shiver down your spine.
And then there are the moments when the sound cuts out. The silence can be just as effective.
Oh, tell me about it. That scene with the blind balloon seller gets me every time. Everything goes quiet, and he's just listening.
And then he hears that whistle.
Goosebumps. But Lang's a master of the visual, too. The way he uses light and shadow.
Very expressionistic.
Right. You can feel the influence of the Weimar era, all that social and political unrest.
Lang was really tapping into the anxieties of the time, that sense of unease and paranoia. You see it in all the German expressionist art of the period.
So he's reflecting the world around him, but also kind of shaping the way people see that world.
And nowhere is that more apparent than in the capture and trial of Hans Beckert.
Oh, you're talking about that scene in the abandoned distillery. Talk about a kangaroo court.
It's a scene that's full of suspense, but it also makes you really think about justice. Like, Who are these people to decide Beckert's fate?
They're criminals. It's totally hypocritical.
And yet, Lang wants us to see their humanity, even in that adaptation for the stage.
A public fit.
Yeah, that one. They emphasized how, in that moment during his defense, Beckert becomes, well, the most human character in the room.
Well, he is begging for his life and making some good points about free will, right?
Even his lawyer argues that he's not in control of his actions.
Which, if you think about it, was a huge debate at the time. A lot of people were against capital punishment.
Exactly. Lang was reflecting these real societal concerns.
So just when you think they're going to string Beckert up, the police burst in. What a cliffhanger.
We never see what happens to Beckert, do we?
We don't. Lang doesn't let us off that easily. He leaves us hanging, and then that final image.
Frau Beckmann, the mother of Beckert's last victim.
The look on her face, you can just feel her grief and anger.
One has to keep closer watch over the children, she says. All of you.
It's like she's saying that everyone's responsible.
Everyone.
Yeah, she's pointing a finger at all of us. It's like Lang is saying, we can't just look away. We're all part of this system.
And that's what makes M so timeless, right? It's not just about a crime. It's about us, about the human condition.
Okay, so big picture time. We've talked about style, the historical stuff, that gut-wrenching ending. But what about M's lasting impact? How did a film from 1931 change the way we tell these kinds of stories?
Oh, its influence is huge. It's everywhere.
Really? Even today?
Think about some of those classic crime films. Psycho, Silence of the Lambs.
Okay, yeah. Cess 7. Those are all pretty intense.
And they all owe something to M.
You're kidding. I mean, they seem so different. What connects them? Besides being scary as heck.
It's in the details. The way they use the camera to get inside the killer's head, the way they show us the darkness hidden beneath the surface of everyday life, those ideas, they all go back to M.
Lang really changed the game, didn't he? He gave us a new way of looking at these genres, at these characters.
He sure did. And it goes beyond film. There's that graphic novel by John J. Muth.
Oh, yeah.
It's M, but in a completely different medium. And you know what? Those core themes still hit hard.
It's a story that just gets under your skin no matter how it's told. And you can't talk about M without talking about Peter Lorre.
Yeah.
That performance, iconic.
It's a shame, really. Lorre was such a talented actor.
But stuck playing the villain.
Yeah, after M, it was hard for audiences to see him as anything else.
Which is funny because as creepy as Beckert is, Lorre still makes you feel for him. You know that Criterion essay, the one that called Beckert a
scurrying, furry little animal?
Yes. It's such a weird description, but it kind of fits.
It's that weird mix of menacing and pathetic, I think. We're repulsed by his actions, but you see those flashes of humanity.
The tormented soul trapped inside.
Exactly.
And that brings us right back to that question Lang was trying to answer. What creates a monster? Is it nature or nurture?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And Lang doesn't give us an easy answer.
Which is what makes M so powerful. It's not about answers. It's about making you think. About making you confront some uncomfortable truths.
About ourselves. And about the world we live in.
Well, there you have it, folks. We took a deep dive into Fritz Lang's M.
A film that still has the power to shock and amaze, almost a century later.
And trust me, this is one you'll want to watch or rewatch. We know we will. Until next time, keep it locked right here for more deep dives into the films that shaped cinema.